Yo, what's up, guys? This is another episode of PB&J with our emergency NBA Finals podcast. It was supposed to be a little later, but the Golden State Warriors beat the Cleveland Cavaliers today, finishing out the series 4-1. And I'm back here to talk about it with Jesse and Brian.
So, have you guys booked your flights to come up to Oakland for the parade?
No.
I'll take the bus.
You take the $1 megabus or whatever it is.
There you go, exactly. Hopefully I take the wrong one and I get to Vegas. But
You know the plans already, Brian? You know where the parade's going to go?
No idea. I'm not taking off work for this. All right, so the last time we had a preview of how the finals would turn out. I said the Warriors would win in 6. John, you said the Cavs would win in 7, I think.
Yeah,
and
Cavs
I
in
don't remember see what you said.
I said the Cavs suck.
No dog in the fight, right? This one, you're just sitting it out.
I know, and then for that person who commented in that episode, you might want to recheck your comments.
It's not LeBron's fault, dude. He did all he could. Yeah, I took Cavs in 7. Obviously, I was way off. After that first game, I was like, oh man, okay, I stuck to my prediction, but I probably should have changed it.
It should have been a sweep.
Yeah,
I really think that they then we were talking about this before we got online. I think that they kind of gave it up. I think they wanted to win it at home.
No, I don't know about that because they were trying to chase a record.
Yeah, 16-0.
Yeah, so that didn't happen. So, they're winning at home now, which kind of makes up for it, I guess.
Yeah. I think with Game 4, I think Golden State wasn't. I think they weren't sure what the Cavs were gonna do. Like, are they just gonna come out and just lay down, or are they gonna fight? And when the Cavs came out super energetic and was fighting the whole game, it kind of took them by surprise, and they got down by 20 really fast. And I think they were just like, well, it's cool. We're up. We're still up 3-1. We'll just win at home.
I really felt that if the Cavs were able to still win tonight, anything could have happened at that point.
Yeah, I think so too.
Then momentum goes back to Cleveland, but that didn't happen.
Yeah. I think if Cleveland won today, it was going to go 7.
Yeah.
Well, I thought the second quarter is what really did them in. They fell behind and just really.
They were close for a while, right? And then, the Warriors went on like a 21-2 run.
Yeah.
Kind of blew the game open from there a little bit.
Yeah, and the Cavs just couldn't get out of that hole. I mean, the rest. I think they outscored the Warriors in the third quarter and most of the fourth quarter, and then they just ran out of gas at the end.
Yeah. Well, do you guys want to just kind of recap each game? I mean, there's not much to say because but we can probably spend a few minutes just to kind of talk about the all 5 games and what we thought about it.
Yeah. Game one was a blowout, right? The Golden State came in and just walked all over Cleveland. I don't know what Cleveland was doing that game. They were lost defensively the whole time. Dudes were wide open threes. Actually, they were cutting to the basket. Remember, it was like dunks.
There were a lot of dunks in the beginning,
and
throughout. Actually,
yeah, and the Cleveland just didn't know what to do. They didn't adjust. They didn't do anything. They couldn't stop the ball, and just got crushed. They ended up losing with I think by 20 or something like that. Game 2 was a little better. It looked like Cleveland kind of adjusted a little bit. They still ended up losing by double digits, but at least it was more competitive. And then Game 3, I think, was the big one. That was the one that iced the series. That was Cleveland's game, and they just blew it completely.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. I mean, they had like a 6 or 7 point lead with less than 5 minutes left.
Yeah, it was like
kind of stopped paying attention to the score, and the Warriors made some plays, and I look at the score again, and they're losing. Like Durant has that pull up 3 that led everyone to question LeBron. Like, why was he guarding Durant behind a 3-point line to give him that shot?
Right.
So yeah, I didn't get that. Maybe he was just gassed because he played so well in the first half, and then the second half he just kind of gassed out, and they just, and it wasn't even a big run, a big comeback. They just made a few plays, and the ball bounced the Warriors' way a few times, and that was enough to get the win.
Yeah, it was like Cleveland like missed a shot, Golden State hit a three. Cleveland turned the ball over, Golden State hit a three, and then it was like, oh, they're winning.
Right.
And then it was just,
Yeah.
and then it was just game. Cleveland, I think Cleveland got one last shot, and then that was it. It was a game.
Yeah, and there were a few plays before that where like Kevin Love took a shot, and then I don't know who got the rebound, and then instead of dribbling out to kill some more time, they just took another quick shot and missed it.
Yeah.
I think that was a play where like LeBron threw it to Korver on an elbow three, and he shot it and he missed it, and then they lost the possession. They could have, if they just held the ball, even if they didn't shoot the ball at that time, that might have prevented Durant from taking that three. Like that would have wiped that shot out from happening. So
yeah, they could have killed it. They could have just not even shot. They could have let the 24-second violation. That would have been a better play.
Yeah,
because it would have killed time. It would have been a dead ball, and then Golden State would have had to run it, take the ball out and that out of bounds, and that all kills time instead of just letting a transition three for wide open for Durant.
Yep.
Yeah, they just blew that one. That one still, I still don't know. I think about it, and I still don't know what happened. It was just over. And then the game 4, which was a great game to watch, but Cleveland won by 20. But you kind of knew that wasn't sustainable, right? They had to set all kinds of records to win that game.
Yeah. So the records they set were, from my memory, it was 49 points in one quarter.
Right.
24 threes. What else was there?
LeBron had a triple-double, right, to catch Magic or something like that. And I think Kyrie had like 40 points.
Right. Yeah, that was the game where LeBron had 9 triple-doubles, so he passed Magic by 1.
Right.
At 8. Yep. And then Kyrie had like 40 or 41 points. So even Darren Williams had like 5 points, I think.
Yeah.
So I think that's his final stat. I didn't see him score in this last game, so he probably just ended the finals with just 5 points, 5 or 7 points or whatever he had.
Talk about a dud pickup.
Yeah.
They picked him up and he did nothing. Like he just totally vanished. I knew he was on a decline. I mean, he's nowhere near the player he once was, but man, he's just to no-show the finals. That was terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, because of that, Kyrie had to play 40 minutes. You already have LeBron out there the whole game, and then your second best guy has to be out there the whole game.
Yeah. Yeah, then, the biggest thing for the Cavs that I felt, where they didn't get much help was Darren Williams and Kyle Korver.
Right. And those were the 2 big pickups in the midseason, right? That was their, they were like, we have to go get these guys. And they did, and it just didn't help at all.
What do you think? Was it the system, or they just sucks?
I think Darren Williams sucks. He just looks shot and old.
Yeah.
Korver, we were talking about this earlier. The system doesn't seem to match his style. When he was on the Bulls, and I watched all his games when he was on the Bulls, he would always run weave plays where he was weaving in and out of the front court, and the Bulls would set 2 or 3 screens for him, and he'd pop out for he'd get wide open for a 3, and someone would kick him the ball. Like Derrick Rose would drive and kick it to him, and he hit a 3 coming off of a screen in rhythm. Whereas in this series, he was more of a spot up guy. He'd run to a spot in the corner and just sit there. And he's a great 3-point shooter, but that's not his style. His style is to run and move and find a rhythm shot. And right here, he would just kind of sit there. And if someone got a rebound, they'd kick it to him open. So it didn't really fit his style of play. Maybe if he has a whole offseason with those guys and learns the offense and adjust, maybe he'll do better rather than just being plopped in there midseason. But I think with him, that was just a bad fit. And then Darren Williams just looks like he can retire tomorrow.
And you're right though. Kyle Korver is a great 3-point shooter. I mean, I used to have him in the fantasy for the last 2 years. When he wasn't injured, he was good. But you're right though. I mean, he needs to move. He can't. And then that might be what they told him. It's like, oh, you're great at threes. Stay here. We have LeBron to go ahead and move. We have LeBron to move.
Right.
You just shoot. Whenever it comes to your ball, you just shoot. Or maybe that's why he's stuck. But Kyle Korver, like I said, the last 2 previous years, he's always been my 2-point guy.
Yeah, he was always hovering around 40% from 3-point range, which for a 3-point shooter, that's great. I don't know what his numbers were this series, but nowhere near 40%.
And I guess like for tonight's game, you kind of touched on it. In the second quarter, the Warriors just went on this run, and they were just not able to catch up after that. Especially like in the last quarter, I think the Cavs still had a chance to come back and win. And if you hear any like fireworks right now, it's people like firing fireworks right now.
Oh, really? Yeah, I can hear that. I didn't know what that was. So that's the Warrior celebration?
Yep.
Wow, I got it live, guys, right here. The Warrior celebration.
Might be some gunshots and stuff.
Wait, I didn't know you were in Almani again.
Well, that didn't need any celebration. That was just natural, just day to day.
That was just like the 9:30 Disneyland for you guys, right?
Yeah. But I was saying, yeah, they still had a chance to come back, but they just couldn't get any stops. There were a few plays where, like, Steph would just throw the ball under the basket, and then someone would be right, like, underneath.
Yeah, like wide open too, right? Like wide open.
Yeah, and like when they showed the replay, it looked like it was kind of LeBron's fault for not helping. He was just standing there and let the guy just blow past him. And then Kevin Durant made some plays. You know, he just took the game over in the end, and he just showed that he wanted it more than everyone else. And I guess that was it.
Yeah, it was frustrating to see at the end of the game where the Cleveland still had a chance and they're fighting and just guys with wide open shots. You know, you're like, come on, how can you have wide open shots at this tight? But in the fourth quarter, you know they're just exhausted. And the Warriors just have too many weapons, and Cleveland just couldn't keep up.
And the Warriors are a younger team, so
yeah, no, they are. They're younger.
They're obviously gonna outlast them.
Younger, deeper. You can rotate guys in and out.
Yeah.
I mean, when you have like your third best guy in Klay Thompson, who really didn't have a great series, and it doesn't even matter.
Right.
You know, you go, oh, don't worry about shooting. You know, you can focus on defense. We'll take care of it. That's crazy. That's just crazy.
Yeah, and like with most teams, if their one player is off, the team loses. But with them, it's if one guy's off, there's still like two or three other guys that can still pick up the load.
Yeah, it's like, oh, we got two MVPs that handle it. Don't worry about it. And that's another thing too, is that it never seemed like Love, LeBron, and Kyrie could ever be on the same page on the same game.
Yeah, it's always just one of them like having a great game, right?
You're right.
Well, LeBron's consistent. It's like either Love or Kyrie that are they kind of take turns showing up. Well, and that brings me up to like another point about like Tristan Thompson. Like he didn't show up until game 4.
Yeah, that guy really no-showed big time, and they need him to play well. He didn't do anything.
Yeah, all he had to do was rebound. Like that was the only thing he needed to do, and he didn't show up for the first 3 games and by the time he did, it was kind of too late already.
Yeah, I mean, like today, I think Kevin Love got fouled in the 4th, and he went up to the line to shoot free throws, and they showed his stat line with 4 points.
Yeah,
and I was like, that's not gonna cut it. Like, come on, man, you're the third best player on the team. They brought you in, your former All-Star, and you have 4 points going in the 4th quarter. That's just not gonna get it done.
Yeah, I'm looking at this. He only did 2 field goals out of 8.
Yeah.
He attempted 8 field goals.
Yeah, 8 field goals. Like you need to be shooting them way more than that. You're too good to be shooting 8 field goals. And most of them are just like the threes with a contested 3. Someone's got his hand in their face.
And I'm even looking at some of his. I mean, his final scores is like 6 points, 1 block, 2 assists. I mean, he's a rebounder. Are we supposed to be up there, right? And he's only 10 rebounds.
Yeah. I think game 1 he had over 20.
Yeah. You think he's just tired?
He could have been. He could have been tired. They were running him. The Golden State was running right at him. He's the weakest defender, and they were taking it to him.
30 minutes, though.
Yeah, I mean, I'm talking about like the whole series in general.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were going right at him. So at this point, Golden State is just obviously the most talented team in the NBA. It's probably not even close. Brian, what do you think the Cleveland has to do to try and catch them next year? Like, what do them and LeBron have to do to get back to the finals and then take on the Warriors again?
I guess the question is really what's LeBron going to do? Not really the Cavs. I don't know. I think, in my opinion, I think he should start looking to see where else he can jump to. I think there's too many parts in Cleveland that they have to get rid of because of the contracts that they gave out last year.
Yeah.
So maybe Cleveland is not the right place anymore, since he still probably has like 3 or 4 prime years left before his decline. So it really depends. But looking at the other teams, the only one I can see with kind of a team that's already built, just missing a few key pieces, would probably be the Clippers. but then they also need to make some moves for it to work too.
Right. Yeah.
But other than that, I don't know. I don't see any other team that he can go to. Maybe if he goes to the Spurs, but he would have. I don't know how they would make that work. But
yeah, they'd have to get their team too.
Yeah, get rid of LaMarcus, I guess, since he's not really working out. But then you got to eat his contract somewhere. So I don't know. It's going to be hard. I don't see anyone else like any other team out there that can put a super team together that can beat these guys. What do you think? Like, do you see anywhere or anything that LeBron or the Cavs can do?
I don't know. It's like you said, they handed out those contracts to Tristan Thompson, J.R. Smith, and Shumpert. Kevin Love came in when they traded for him. He already had a big deal. So cap space wise, I think they're like the second worst in the league, or maybe even the worst in the league, cap space wise. And you'd have to move all these pieces to do something. And I don't know if they can. Like, there's been some talk out there about going after Paul George, offering Kevin Love, but I don't know if Indiana's interested in Kevin Love. You know, he showed in this series that he's a good player and he's a good complementary piece, but he's not a star. He's not going to carry you to a championship. And if you put Kevin Love on the Pacers, who are, you know, they're an okay team, that it's a downgrade from Paul George, that's for sure. So, you know, what do you do with his contract? What do you do? Tristan Thompson just showed that, you know, his style of play is kind of old school, right? Big man who rebounds and he can't shoot, and he's a big man and he's undersized, especially if you're playing him at the 5. He's only like 6'8", 6'9". Maybe at power forward he might be okay, but again, teams nowadays are looking for that stretch four, guys who can stretch it out the 3-point line and hit the 3. He can't shoot at all. So if you offer him up in a trade, I don't see anyone jumping at the opportunity to get him. J.R. Smith and Shumpert are just total role players. You're not gonna get anything for them. So I don't know. I really don't know what Cleveland can do. You know, you can try and make a run at someone like Jimmy Butler or Paul George, but again, I don't see how they can get them. I just don't know.
Yeah, and even if they get one of the two, do you think that's enough? I mean, I don't think that's enough.
No. I mean, if you trade Kevin Love, let's say for some odd reason Indiana goes for it and they trade Love for Paul George. So now you're riding with Kyrie, LeBron, and George, and that's a better matchup stylistically because Paul George he can shoot, he can switch on a guys like Durant, he can play great defense, but it's still not as good as that team. The Warriors are still deeper, they're still better, and I just don't know if they can beat them. You would have to hope that they get Paul George in a trade for Love. Dwayne Wade opts out of his deal in Chicago and goes to Cleveland and signs for the bare minimum, which I don't think he'll do. That'll be leaving like $20 million on the table. And at his age and at his point in his career, he's not going to get that type of money again. So you'd have to hope something like that. You'd have to pray that some unexpected move just comes out of nowhere. And so as of right now, I just don't see it. They just have to ride next year, ride with the same team. They can probably make a couple small moves here and there, but they're not getting a superstar. They're not getting that next level guy who can challenge the Warriors. And with the other teams coming up like Boston, they'll be challenging them. So just getting out of the East is gonna get a lot harder, let alone getting to the finals and playing Golden State again.
Yeah, I think the Celtics are still like a year or two away from becoming that good team. So I had Celtics in my mind as a place for LeBron to go, but they're still too young right now. For next year, they wouldn't be ready. Yeah, they still need a few more key pieces before they can be competitive.
Yeah, I mean you would have to trade for LeBron. Or actually, no, LeBron could sign there, right? He's doing that 1 year.
Right.
He's doing that thing. He'd have to sign there, but then you'd have LeBron, Al Horford, Isaiah Thomas, Jaylen Brown, Jay Crowder. Yeah, is that good enough? No, it's not. And even if they use that number 1 pick and they get Markelle Fultz, would have a rookie coming in, you have to wait for him. You'd almost have to do what Cleveland did when he went there, right? They traded their number 1 pick, which ended up being Andrew Wiggins, and they traded him for Love. You have to do something like that. LeBron would go and sign there, trade that number 1 pick for Paul George, and then that's a dangerous team. But again, is that still good enough to beat Golden State? I don't know.
Yeah. So
mostly because with right now the Warriors, they're playing uniform. It's not like they're a brand new team. They've been playing for a few years, so they're kind of like what San Antonio was. Like San Antonio did so well because the players knew each other, they played off each other. And really, the only new one was Durant, so they had to learn how to play with Durant. But most of the other team was cohesive.
Yeah, and then
so, like you're saying, throwing LeBron into any other new team, there's going to be a learning curve versus a team that's going to be basically they're playing a San Antonio team at their prime.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what the Warriors have become. They've become
the Spurs.
The next Spurs.
Yeah. Durant's style of play fit perfect, right? He's a great talent. He's an unselfish player. He can shoot just like they all can. He can play defense like they all can. He's long like everyone else on the team. So it was like a perfect match.
He wanted it.
Yeah, and he had gotten so close the last, few years, and he just couldn't get there. Made it to the finals once before and lost to the Heat, right? So he lost to LeBron back then. So yeah, he wanted it really bad. But yeah, that comparison with the Spurs, I think, is spot on. You have all these guys who are unselfish, and they all play a role, and they're all really, really good. It's like you almost have to wait for them to get old, like San Antonio did.
It's kind of like what we were talking about offline, how back in the 80s and the 90s, there's so many good teams out there, so many good players, but they were going against the best, which was the Bulls or there was different eras, and that seems to be what it is right now. That the Warriors is now
it's their time.
Yeah, it's the it was the Celtics, the Lakers, the Spurs, and the Bulls, and now the Warriors built that team until, like you said, they get injured or they get old.
Yeah, and there's talk that when all their contracts come up, that the Golden State's not going to be able to afford all their players. And the talk right now is that Klay Thompson will be the odd man out. You have to go somewhere else to get paid, but it's like it doesn't even matter if he leaves. I mean, they won the finals with him having a bad series, so it doesn't even. Who cares? He can leave, and they're still going to be just fine.
Yeah, he can probably go. Iguodala, he's getting older too, so
right.
When the time comes, they don't really need to keep him around either. And that guy McCall, he played decent for a rookie, so if he continues to improve, then he'll be another piece that'll be another threat to the team, for everyone else. So it's, yeah, I mean, if everything stays together, yeah, they could be dominant for a long time, maybe another 2 or 3 years.
Oh yeah, easily. I mean, Curry, I don't think they're anywhere near 30. Any other guys?
Oh, Durant.
Oh yeah, that's right. He was 07, so he's already been 10 years.
He's basically the veteran.
Yeah.
He's the Kevin. Derek Fisher, the team. So
yeah,
he'll help them out.
And if he's the veteran mentor guy, yeah, the other teams are in trouble.
Yeah.
So what do you think, Brian? Like they built this super team. Do you think that's fair? Is there anything the league can do about it? Just getting all these guys on one team?
Well, so the old school thinking back then, like I guess we're kind of in the old school mentality where like in the late 80s, early 90s, teams were built by GMs, right? And now LeBron is kind of like the first one who started building like these super teams, and players have more control of where they end up playing. So I think it's going to be hard to do something about that. I mean, unless they do something like they did to the Chris Paul trade to the Lakers, where they, where David Stern canceled. I guess he vetoed the trade.
Right.
Unless you do something like that, which is unfair. I mean, even though I'm not a Lakers fan, I thought that was like a really unfair move since both sides agreed to a trade.
It was actually three teams. 3 teams agreed to it. They all signed off.
So it reminds me, when we have fantasy basketball and our buddy Sergio sends me stuff for nothing. You guys can hate on that.
But not only that ruined Odom's life.
Yeah, that wrecked Odom.
So it's his fault. This stupid Stern. I mean, we would have lost Marcus Gasol, but that's okay.
Yeah, I mean that people point to that trade as a big point to why the Lakers are so bad right now. That trade would have sent them up for the next 5, 6, 8 years. You would have had Chris Paul. He would have taken over when Kobe got old and retired. You still have Chris Paul right now. Instead, you have.
It's possible that Kobe wouldn't have gotten hurt those 2 years because it wouldn't have been all on him. Chris Paul would have shared some of the gameplay.
Yeah, Kobe was playing 40 minutes a night at that age, and it just broke him down, accelerated his aging process big time.
And that's what's going to happen with LeBron, though. I mean, LeBron's bigger than Kobe is. He's obviously stronger and bigger and stuff, but just in general, you're working. If you're the main player and you're just working the whole team, he's either gonna get resentful or he's gonna fucking get hurt.
Yeah, I mean, they showed. I mean, with this series, he couldn't even sit down. He couldn't take a break.
Yeah.
Instead of getting his 5-6 minutes, he was getting like 2.
Yeah. So going back to your question, yeah, I don't think there's anything the league can do. The ratings, from what I heard today, they were up in the finals. I mean, there's a small. So I'm hearing conflicting information that the viewership went up, but then there's like a 5% dip somewhere else. So I think it's going to, like the NBA is starting to head towards like baseball MLB, where there's like 3 or 4 dominant teams, and then the rest of the teams they become farm teams where they just build up players and then they end up selling them because they can't compete.
Right.
So
right.
I don't know. People are still watching, but they're only watching like 3 or 4 teams, and all the other teams, they suffer. John, you can probably tell me here, like, do they do revenue sharing, or is that only NFL?
That's a good question.
Because if it's not revenue sharing, then some of the smaller teams, smaller market teams, they're going to suffer from.
No, I think there is. I think there is revenue sharing with those big TV contracts that started coming in a few years ago. With like the Lakers signed theirs and the Clippers got theirs. And I think there is revenue sharing. I think that was a part of that lockout that happened in 2011. I think that was a big part of it.
The attendance, the games might be low, but as long as all the teams are making the money, then I think that's okay, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, what do you think? Do you think that this is good for the league, or if there's anything they can do about it?
It's probably in the long run, it's probably good for the league. Like they still get the people are still watching, right? Like you said, people are still watching. It does make the season boring. Like at the beginning of the year, you knew it was like, oh, Golden State's they're gonna play the Cavs, and then it's probably gonna win. So it kind of ruined the drama of the season. But these dominant teams tend to keep the ratings up. Is there anything they can do? I don't really know. I was thinking maybe when the new CBA comes around, maybe they put in a rule saying you can only have 1 supermax guy, 2 max guys, and that's it. And then you have to spread out the rest of the money to kind of prevent these super teams from forming. But at the same time, you're punishing teams that draft well.
Right.
Right? Because Golden State, they drafted, other than Durant, they drafted all their guys. I mean, it's not their fault they know how to draft and the Kings don't. Right? The Kings are in top 5 every year and they just pick some dude and it never works out. Like that's not Golden State's fault. That's the Kings' fault. So if you to do something like that, like, oh, you can only have 2 supermax or 1 supermax and other things, like, well, they're our guys. Like that's not our fault. We built this team from the ground up, like you're supposed to. So I don't know. And if you start limiting guys to where they can go, then that's not true free agency, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have it's like a restricted free agents type deal, and they're already kind of doing that where they put in the rule where the team you're on can offer you the most money no matter what, right? You lose like $50 million. So they're already trying to do that, and that's really hurting guys. Unless you get a guy like Durant who just doesn't care, or Dwight Howard who didn't care and they just wanted out of their situation. They took the less money. That's really rare though. That just doesn't really happen. We're talking about like the Clippers. They have Blake Griffin and Chris Paul are free agents, and will Chris Paul do this? Will Chris Paul's like, probably not. He's gonna lose $50 million if he leaves, right?
Well, plus all his commercials.
Right. Yeah.
LA, like if he moves anywhere else, he would lose all those ads.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't think there's anything you can do really. I do think it was kind of fluky this year, right? The salary cap jump unexpectedly higher than they thought, and it just so happened Durant was on the market, and so Golden State was able to afford him. It's kind of a fluky, weird thing, and then Golden State's contract situation or their salary cap situation is really good because since they did draft all their guys, some guys are still on their rookie deals, so it's kind of
and they underpaid Steph Curry, when they renewed his contract. So
right, because of his ankle injuries but his next contract though he's gonna get that supermax, so. It's kind of weird. It's kind of a weird thing. We kind of saw it with Seattle, the Seahawks in football.
Mm-hmm.
They were so good because they they got lucky that Russell Wilson turned out to be so good, and he was on his rookie deal, and he was a 3rd-round pick, so he was only making like $700,000 against the cap. So they were able to pay all their defenders and keep him on the team for a long time.
Right. Well,
and then once his contract,
right.
Yeah, and then his contract came in, and they had to pay him, and then all of a sudden they started losing guys. So maybe something like that will happen with Golden State, where when all the contracts start coming in and they start losing guys like Clay, and then some of their role players like David West and Iguodala and those guys retire, maybe it'll even level the playing field a little bit, but that can take another 2-3 years for that to happen. So we might just be stuck
Yeah,
watching Golden State for a while.
No, I was going to say, yeah, I mean, I hated to cut you off, but you're right. I'm looking at these contract dates. They're 2 years away. You're not going to. I'm sorry. I was looking at the Stephen Curry contract. His contract is up this year, and he's only getting 12.
Right.
While everybody else is. I mean, Durant, of course, is getting the 26, but everybody else is 15 and 16. And it's weird that he's the top guy and he's getting $3 million, $4 million less than the other two guys, Klay Thompson and Draymond Green.
Yeah, for all the listeners who don't know or haven't been watching basketball for long, Steph Curry had really bad ankle problems when he came in the league. He had to have like season-ending surgery like 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
And missed. I mean, we all know because we play fantasy, and having Steph Curry was such a huge risk because you just didn't know if he was going to play. They gave him that contract, and it was at a really low deal. And then once he got healthy, he turned into two-time MVP Steph Curry. And since his contract was already signed in the NBA, your contract's guaranteed. You really can't do anything about it. Golden State they're lucking out. They hit the jackpot with his contract, and he just has to wait till his next one.
Yeah, and at that time they were debating whether they should keep Monte Ellis,
right,
or Steph.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's right.
That was like how bad it was, like in terms of his health, like and this was before he started shooting all those threes and breaking all these records. So.
Right. I mean, he was only playing like 20 games a season. It was really bad. Now, for next year, do you guys think any other team has a shot? Houston, San Antonio, if they make some moves, Clippers, Boston in the East, my Bulls. No, I'm just kidding. Anybody? What do you guys think? Does anyone have a shot next year to kind of break up this monotony?
No, Lakers gonna come back. As long as we don't sign that guy with the sneakers.
Oh, Alonzo.
Yeah, Alonzo Ball. As long as we don't sign him, we got it.
The ugly guy.
Yeah, the ugly guy. For the people who missed it on our last podcast, I don't really think he's great looking.
Yeah, but he's never seen him dribble a ball or do anything on the court. So
yeah, and I'm not gonna spend like $500 on his sneakers either. But I seen his picture, and that's all that matters. You asked before we talked about this the Houston Rockets. I don't think so. Same thing with the Spurs. I think they're too old. I mean, like Harden's a great player in the Rockets and stuff, but he's kind of like one of those players back in the 80s or 90s. He's not on the right team. You're gonna have these dominant teams like the Warriors, the Cavs. He's a great fantasy player, but he doesn't have the full team, and they'll go to the finals again, but I don't think they'll make it to play.
So you're predicting Warriors, Rockets in the conference finals, but it's going to be the Rockets again. I mean, Warriors again.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely the Warriors. Yeah, I mean, the way that, like I said, unless there's some major injuries going on, I don't.
Right. Yeah. Of course, if there's an injury, that you can never plan for those.
You have Shawshan's, what is it, Pazula, whatever.
Yeah.
Stepping on everybody on the team. As long as everyone's healthy, I think it's going to be good. I think they're going to go back. Will they win it? I don't know. I'm not saying that they're going to win it, but I think that they're going to go back to the finals.
What about in the East, Brian? What if someone like Boston, they get Gordon Hayward and they draft Markelle Fultz, something like that? You think that'll be enough to unseat the Cavs, or is it just going to be LeBron again?
It might be able to take down Cleveland if they're lucky, assuming the Cavs all stay the same, more or less. Yeah, but even if they make it to the finals, they would just lose. I don't think they're ready yet. Not next year. They might need like 2 or 3 more years before they can get all their guys developed. But yeah, the first step is to sign Gordon Hayward and maybe one other guy, along with their pick, and give it some time for them to develop and go from there. But not next year. Yeah,
and then they also have the Nets pick for next year as well, so they can end up with another top 3 guy next year, and it might take a little bit, but they'll be sitting pretty for.
Right.
I think Boston's gonna be sitting pretty for a long time once they get these guys in there, and they'll probably take over the East once LeBron either leaves Cleveland or starts to break down, and that team falls apart. And I think Boston's gonna be reigning king for a little bit.
Only in the East. I mean,
yeah, in the East.
Warriors together, yeah, that's not going to change for a little while.
It's all right, guys. That was our NBA Finals recap. Stick around for our E3 recap podcast coming soon. Today was we had a couple more panels or conferences. We had Sony's and Ubisoft's. Tomorrow's Nintendo. Is there anything else tomorrow, or is it just Nintendo?
Just Nintendo.
Yeah, Nintendo will close out E3, and we'll let you guys know what we thought, any surprises, and and that's it. You guys got anything else you want to throw in there before we shut it down?
Man, there was something I wanted to say, but I forgot.
So okay, tomorrow we're gonna see the new Pikachu. They're gonna revamp them and make them for the Switch, right?
So he's gonna be like leaner, meaner Pikachu for the Switch for the kids.
Yeah, exactly. On the little Switch, he's gonna go in and be way badass. He's gonna be. Go ahead. Now that you remember, go.
Yeah, I remember what I was saying now. So, you guys ready for baseball and NASCAR for the rest of the summer?
Ah, man, why'd you have to bring that up? We're in the dead zone. We got like 2 or 3 months of nothing. Actually, I saw today on Instagram, the NFL we got 86 more days until football. That's a long time.
Wasn't it 100 days like a month ago? Why is it still 86 days now? I remember hearing something like a few weeks ago saying that it's 100 days until maybe they count preseason. I don't know.
Maybe they're counting training. I mean, at this point, by the time training camp rolls around in August, I'm dying for any football. I watch all preseason games. I don't care. They don't count. I don't care.
Yep. So for now, it's just baseball.
Man.
What else is there? Golf.
Golf. Maybe some soccer. I'll find some Las Ligas games.
Hey, we have Comic-Con next month.
Yeah, you guys will be busy in July.
Yeah, and then there's D23. Aren't you doing D23?
Yeah, we're going to that.
Yeah, that's still a month though. That's a month of waiting.
Yeah, and then a month after that.
Yeah.
More.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening. Stay tuned for our E3 recap, and we'll see you later.